Hello and welcome to this week's episode of She Speaks, She Leads. My name is Michelle Fragius and I help women reclaim their voice, amplify how they communicate, and take the stage with confidence, clarity, and presence. I'm so excited for today's episode because it's a question I often get. Michelle, I'm so smart, I'm successful, but why do I continue to hold back in using my voice, to speaking up, to being more visible on the stages, the online stage, the physical stage, in meetings? There's something wrong with me. But here's the thing, there is nothing wrong with you. And I am going to, my intention today is to give you the background in why it's happening. Because often we make it that there's something wrong with us. But when we can understand why it's happening, where it comes from, then we have that heightened awareness, and there's so many ways to shift and move through it. But before I take you through the why it continues to happen, I want to share a little story. Some of you might know this story about me. Some of you may have been hearing it for the first time. I want to take you back to 2015. I was in my corporate role and I was on my way to work. And if you know Sydney traffic, it's chaotic. I'm sitting in traffic an hour and a half on my way to work. And I really enjoyed that time, to be honest with you. Not the traffic part, but the time away from family, the time away from the mum role. And it was an opportunity to catch up on podcasts, catch up on phone calls, listen to some music, whatever I needed. But so I was on my way, driving on my way to work, and something was feeling really good, right? Because I was reflecting and like, wow, this is the year. This is the year that I'm going to get that big promotion that I've been going for, the one that I've been working towards. I just felt it in me. And the reason I said that as well was because my manager said, look, Michelle, it's just, you got to give it a year, be a year in the role, and you will be ready for that next leadership role. So that year was coming up. So I wasn't just feeling it, but I also knew the year was coming up. Anyway, I rocked up in the office like any other normal day, and the day began doing the work. Then I met up with some of the other department heads and we had a lunch. Lunch was good. But then as I was coming back from lunch, something wasn't feeling quite right. I was wondering, was it something that I ate, but all the other women ate the same thing? Right? And as the afternoon progressed, I progressively felt even worse. And I was having a conversation with one of the ladies where we had lunch, and I said, I just don't feel good. Are you all right? Like, what did you eat and all of that? And she just, made a comment, maybe you're pregnant. And I said, hang on a minute. Do you know my story? Do you know my story? She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, my twin boys, who at the time were 9, they're through IVF. So there is no chance that I can be pregnant. And I just thought, she's probably projecting on me because she was pregnant. So I didn't think much of it. But I got home that evening and I still wasn't feeling right, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what it is. A few days passed by, nothing seemed to shift. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, explained the symptoms, and he too said, well, could there be a chance that you're pregnant? I said, well, I know you're my new doctor, but let me give you the history. And he said, look, let's just do a test and rule it out. Okay. Did the test. The next day, I get a phone call in the morning from the doctor. Congratulations, Mrs. Fragius, you're pregnant. Everything just stopped, right? Firstly, it was, there's no way. There's no, what? So the initial shock, oh my gosh. Then it's like, oh my goodness, there goes everything around my plans, my promotion. And then it was like panic, fear. What am I going to do? I have a third child coming along. I'm about to be 40. What the? I have two 9-year-old twins. I thought my baby days were over. Almost 9 months, I deliver my third child. And I held him in my hands. And all the thoughts, the fears just vanished. The reason I'm telling you this story is because no matter how much we plan in our minds, the plan is never what the mind thinks. It's what happens at the end. And it's similar to what's holding a lot of women back when it comes to speaking up. A lot of successful, smart women. We're thinking and planning up here, right? We're constantly thinking, how do I articulate this a lot clearer? What if they don't like what I say? What if they think I'm dumb? What if I'm too much? We're constantly thinking and planning in our thoughts. But let's go, why? Why do smart, successful women still stay silent? Number one, I want to introduce you to the success paradox. What happens when we continue to grow and learn and build our knowledge bank? We continue to be successful in our role as a career woman, as a businesswoman. And the more and more we invest in our smarts, in our achievement, in our success, the stakes become higher. There's more risk. Why? Because there's more eyes on you. There are more people watching you. There's also more to lose. Oh, if I say this, if I stuff up, I might lose my job. I might lose clients. I might not be taken seriously. I might be too much. And then the other part is we risk of having all these labels thrown at us. You're too much, too bossy, too bitchy, too assertive, too confident. So what happens is the stakes are higher. There's a higher risk. And when we have that, our fear and anxiety increases. And so what do? It's safer to be silent. It's safer not to speak up. The cost far outweighs the benefit. This is what we've taught ourselves. This is what we've been conditioned externally. This is what beliefs we've taken on. Patterns and behaviors that, if I speak up, if I articulate what I truly want to say, if I come out and it sounds silly or dumb, there's too much of a risk. So it's better that I don't. It's better that I just stay in the thing that I can control, that feels safe, that feels cushy. And what happens, that is the success paradox, right? I'm more smarter, more successful, more achieving, stakes are higher, more eyes on me, more judgment, more to lose, risk of labels, increases fear, anxiety, so we stop. Then what happens is we go into what's called a fear suppression cycle. And this fear suppression cycle is or I'm going to push it down. It's too fearful. The cost far outweighs the benefit. There's too much to lose, right? And we push it down. We push the fear down. Okay. We push our voice down. Better to stay safe and silent in my container that I can control. And what happens is that gets louder and louder and louder. And we go further and further and further into what's called our conditioned self. The self that has been fed to us, the self that we've taken on these beliefs, these stories. And what happens, we perform to conform. We edit to fit in. We silence so that we don't risk the loss of job, role, our reputation, what people think, all of that. And what happens as we go to that cycle, so we push it down, it gets louder and louder, we burn out as we try to perform to conform, we continue to wear a mask. I'm this person in this person's eyes. I'm mum and this person here, and who do I need to be here, right? And what happens, we end up disconnecting to ourself, our true self. The part of us that lights up, the part of us that brings us joy, the part of us that really wants to say what we want to say. And when we go into that disconnection of self, then we start to lose trust in our voice. We start to lose the trust in our own ideas, our thoughts, our stories, our beliefs. And what happens, we sit in this cycle. The cycle, that fear suppression cycle. And the more and more we allow ourselves to sit in that cycle, we are widening the gap. We are widening the gap of what is our conditioned self, that which we took on from society, from external, from beliefs, from our culture, from our upbringing. We widen the gap to our authentic self, our true voice. And the more and more we sit in that fear cycle and we continue to suppress it, the gap gets wider. And what happens when the gap gets wider? We continue to stay in our thinking. And the only way out of that fear, that anxiety, is to move out of the thinking and into the actions. And automatically, I know what you're thinking. It's like, that's so easy said than done, Michelle. I've heard that so many times. But why do I still not do it? Why do I still not take the action? You want to know why? Because you're not willing to be messy. You're not willing to be imperfect. You want everything to be perfect. But the core thing that you want, one of the core human needs, is you want certainty. You want the safety, the stability, and the knowingness that if you voice your ideas, your thoughts, that you will be accepted and not rejected from the crowd. That you will be loved, you will feel belonging. And most of the women that come to my world know this very well. Because for a very long time, you know that you have not been willing to be messy. Because if you think about any artwork, any magic, there has to be a number of messy steps to get there. And until you're willing to do that, to step forward and be messy, you will always sit in that fear suppression cycle. And the longer you sit in it, the gap widens. So you have a choice. Sit in the gap, let the gap widen, continue to sit in your thinking and your thoughts, or break the cycle. Break the cycle of your thoughts and your thinking. Take the messy step. Take the messy action. And that, my beautiful, is called radical self-responsibility. You need to be radically responsible for yourself in terms of your thoughts, your actions, and your behaviors. It's like the thoughts. The thoughts can sit there. The thoughts can be non-supportive thoughts and help you sit in that fear suppression cycle, or you can shift the thought and go, you know what, this is going to be messy. And I get it, but I'm willing to be messy to grow. I'm willing to be messy to speak up. So, radical self-responsibility is taking ownership of your thoughts, not allowing your thoughts to take ownership of you. The second thing is your action. Remember the thought, yeah, Michelle, but that's so easy said than done, right? That's a thought. It's so easy said than done. So change the thought. I wonder what happens when I get it done. I wonder what happens if I do it, right? Then do it. Then actually do the action. So I share this with you because you can continue to sit in doubt, in thinking. You have the smarts, you have the capabilities. But the next step for you is your willingness to be messy. Your willingness to let me speak it up. Let me share my ideas. Let me allow it to come through. Let it land how it's meant to land. And in my messiness, as I walk through this, then I know that in order to continue to use my voice, to continue to speak up, to continue to communicate, it is a journey. And my journey is one step at a time, one step at a time. And that first step, if you are not speaking up, if you are not showing up more visibly, is your willingness to be messy. That's it. That's your first step. I am willing to be messy. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of She Speaks, She Leads in my messiness as it came out. I hope to see more and more women, smart, successful women, using their voice. I know you have so much to give, and the world needs to receive your gifts now more than ever. So if you enjoyed this episode of She Speaks, She Leads, hit the subscribe, follow button, and you'll get the notifications when a new episode lands in your inbox. Have an amazing day. Till next week. Goodbye.